Part of the focus is to remember to work the body against the 37-year-old Toney, especially early. Guinn says he averaged 90 punches per round in sparring. A good work rate is essential. To beat Toney, you have to at some point land left hands. Guinn is not by nature a left hook artist, but if he throws his favorite jab right hand combination and does it quickly, it could set up the left hook. But once he throws this punch, he can expect a counter from Toney. Slipping this counter shot would make this scenario perfect for Guinn. James Toney is a master at disrupting game plans, and Guinn has been easily distracted in the past. In the center of the ring, Toney won't get hit to the body as much, or anyplace else for that matter. Toney is a superb counterpuncher, and the right-hand counter could be an important tool tonight. Guinn will throw the same 1-2 combination that John Ruiz did. And Guinn has a habit of falling in with his head. That's when Toney can nail him with the counter right hand. This is a big danger for Dominick Guinn tonight.
Well, despite being all but written off at age 30, which is young for a heavyweight these days, Dominick Guinn hoping to become the most famous person from Hot Springs, Arkansas since Bill Clinton. Guinn, who admits he's never watched James Toney live or on TV, which is mind-boggling, burst onto the scene after a stellar amateur career, looked spectacular early on as a pro, heralded as the next great American heavyweight, then almost overnight a total about-face, and it began in his own home state of Arkansas, an awful loss to Monty Barrett, and it happened in the ring walk. He's 1-2-1 in his last 4. But Al, now he's got Joe Goosen, a quick fix trainer, seems genuinely motivated, but is he taking on too much too soon?
Well, you alluded to the Monty Barrett fight, and you alluded to the ring walk. We see him right now coming in. That was in his own hometown. The moment got the better of him with an adoring crowd cheering. He lost his focus. Tonight, what he can't let make him lose his focus, and that's Joe Goosen on the left of him, is facing his biggest challenge. And make no mistake, James Toney is his biggest challenge.
And he better bring his A game against Toney, that's for sure. You saw Joe Goosen. What a scenario. It's brother against brother tonight. Joe Goosen trains Guinn. Joe's brother Dan promotes Toney. Joe's become one of the best trainers in the business, and if Guinn upsets Toney tonight, it would be utterly devastating. A tremendous blow to Dan Goosen, since Toney is his franchise player.
Yeah, this is almost an unprecedented situation, but if anybody can handle it, I guess those two can.
But so much depends on which Dominick Guinn shows up tonight. The Guinn who dismantled Michael Grant, or the Guinn who froze, literally froze, against Monty Barrett. And the supremely confident, outspoken, at times quite humorous James Lights Out Toney returning to the ring for the first time since the debacle following the John Ruiz fight 6 months ago. He told us he feels good, but admitted he did have a little problem with his right hand in training, but no excuses, he said. He said, hey, I fought Ruiz with one arm. He may be the most relaxed fighter you'll ever see. One of the true characters in the sport. Always good for a snappy quote. He summed up his thoughts succinctly tonight. He's hungry, I'm starving.
Hey, you know what? Let's say one great thing already for James Toney. He's gotten to the ring quicker than any of the other 3 fighters. Maybe that shows a certain aggression, which we'd like to see.
Well, he's out to prove something, because in his mind, they took the heavyweight belt away from him, and he wants to show that he does not need the drugs. Toney's something else. He says, you know what, the heavyweight division is terrible. Aside from me, of course. He just says everybody's ducking him. All right, let's check the numbers as we go to the tail of the tape from Reno. And the figures pretty much favor Dominick Guinn at 30. He's 7 years younger than Toney. He has the 3.5-inch height advantage and a 5-inch edge in reach. But Toney outweighed Guinn at yesterday's proceedings by 14 pounds, a career heaviest, 235. And the notable rules for this fringe title fight: no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. A fighter cannot be saved by the bell in any round. If an accidental headbutt occurs before the end of the 4th round, fight's ruled a no decision. If it happens after the end of round 4, they go to the scorecards. So here at the event center in Reno, we are getting ready for our main event. James Lights Out Toney versus Dominick Guinn, heavyweight scheduled for 12. Let's get the official introductions from our ring announcer, the classy Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you and welcome to the Reno Event Center here in the beautiful city of Reno, Nevada, as it's time for the featured bout of the evening, brought to you by Gary Shaw Productions in association with Goose and Tudor Promotions, Don King Productions, and Showtime. This bout coming away is sanctioned by the IBA Supervisor Norm Longton, along with the Nevada State Athletic Commission. The chairman is Skip Avancino Jr., commissioners Dr. Tony Alamo, John Bailey, Joe W. Brown, and Dr. Flip Omansky, with the executive director Mark Ratner. Our physicians at ringside, Dr. Todd Chapman, Dr. Damon Savala, Dr. James Game, and Dr. William Berliner. Timekeeper at the bell, Jim Carpenter. Keeping count of the knockdowns, Rose Fain. Introducing to you our 3 judges, scoring this bout from ringside. From Carson City, Nevada, Keith McDonald. From Las Vegas, Nevada, Dalby Shirley. And also from Las Vegas, we have Paul Smith. And introducing our 3rd man to the ring, the referee in charge of this bout from Las Vegas, Jay Nady. All right, fans, here we go with our main event of the evening, a heavyweight special attraction, scheduled 12 rounds of boxing for the IBA Heavyweight Championship. And now, ladies and gentlemen in attendance, and boxing fans joining us around the world, live from Reno, Nevada, it's showtime! Introducing to you first on my right, he is fighting out of the blue corner, wearing red trunks, originally from Hot Springs, Arkansas, now fighting out of Houston, Texas. He weighed in at 221 pounds with a record of 25 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. He has 18 wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Southern Disaster, Dominick Guinn. And his opponent across the ring, ready to go on my left, fighting out of the red corner, wearing purple trunks with white trim, fighting out of Sherman Oaks, California. He weighed in at 235 pounds. His record includes 68 wins, 4 losses, 2 draws, 1 no decision, with 43 big wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome one of the all-time greats, the former IBF middleweight, super middleweight, and cruiserweight champion of the world, introducing the IBA heavyweight champion, James Lights Out Toney. Once again, a referee in charge, Jay Nady, now to give instructions. 12 rounds of boxing scheduled.
12 rounds. I want you to obey my commands. And don't forget, when I say stop, I mean stop, all right? Keep your punches up. Any questions? Touch gloves now, let's go to work. Thank you. Don't touch gloves. Okay, don't touch gloves. Hey, you guys gotta wear those things over your head.
Jay Nady with quite a sense of humor. And no, they are not friends. Not too many people are, not too many boxers are. To this man, one of the hardest things in the sport is to hit James Toney.
Jay Nady will be here all week.
Yeah, don't forget to tip your waitress. Dominick Guinn, an ultra-confident, extremely hungry Guinn, said he feels good playing the come out and fight. He'll do whatever it takes. He said you'll see a different Dominick Guinn, a guy who in the past has been criticized for being languid, lackluster, not busy enough, frustrating to watch, like there's a missing ingredient. And of course, James Toney has his own ideas, wearing the very intriguing purple trunks and the red trunks of Dominick Guinn.
You know, when we saw James Toney the other day at his shirt on, we actually thought he was a little trimmer. He weighed in at the highest weight he's ever weighed in at. Now, he is never going to look like Charles Atlas, that's for sure.
Or you.
Or Charles Atlas. But nevertheless, he's carrying a little extra weight.
Yeah, he was carrying that weight against Ruiz, and he looked very physically solid against Rydell Booker.
And yet against Ruiz did not, was still active at the end. Now, James Toney himself is for the most part a counterpuncher, but we see him, as he has been lately, staying in the center of the ring, kind of coming after fighters. Now, for Dominick Guinn, it is all about work rate. In sparring, he said he averaged 90 punches around. He doesn't expect to average that in this fight. But as he points out, if I go back to averaging 30 like I used to, I'm in big trouble. And here's where Guinn needs to be active. You see the counter right from Toney. That's something he wants to land a lot tonight.
Toney was a 200-pound high school quarterback, went down to middleweight to start his fight career. He's skillful, he's tough, loves to fight. He's not a fast starter. He's a builder. He accumulates, breaks people down slowly.
There's the left hook from Dominick Guinn. You must throw that punch against James Toney. It's the one punch you can be assured you have at least a chance to land against him. It's tougher to land a straight right, although that one almost got there.
And Toney, as you pointed out earlier, tremendous counter puncher. He's got a very good chin. He's a consummate pro. Kind of slides into his rhythm in the early going, eventually gets into a faster pace.
Now on the inside, which I don't know if Dominick Guinn wants to be there a lot. He's not that active. His height and reach and his jab and his straight right make the outside a little better for him.
Al, as we come down to the stretch of the round, we'll look to see if Toney looks to rally late and steal the round, which is something he is very famous for.
Which, by the way, we saw Chris Bird do often in the previous fight, a fight that had a lot of inactivity during the course of the round.
Well, we've already had more action here in the first 2.5 minutes than most of that first fight. But Toney can lull you and then jump on you. He did that with John Ruiz. He can play possum, and defensively, one of the best.
Stop.
We mentioned old school. They call them, sometimes they call them the mongoose.
Saw Guinn feint with the jab, and then he was able to get something in after it.
Time! Thank you.
The family of Dominick Guinn, wife and sister Monique Breland Guinn, no relation to Mark Breland, Dominique the sister.
He's dipping. When you're throwing your jab, he's going to dip, okay? And he's going to slide under that right hand. You got to go that left uppercut off that jab, okay? And then a right hand, all right? So you got to go right from there and pick up his head because he's really dipping it low there. He's getting under your punches. You got to go to the body even from the outside a little bit. You got to sneak some body in on him. Now you see if you throw that right hand and stay out there, he's going to come back with that short one, okay? So make sure you give him a few feints and then get off your punches a little bit, okay? Use your jab a little bit more. Use a little bit of distance. Start closing the gap. And start using both hands now. Let's go.
Start of a busy week for Joe Goosen, of course, is the co-pilot for Diego Corrales. A week from tonight against Jose Luis Castillo in the big rematch that you can see on Showtime pay-per-view. He only joined Guinn about a month ago, replacing Ronnie Shields and Mark Breland.
And they had no idea he'd end up fighting James Toney, who was promoted by his brother. But then when the fight came up, they said yes. Now, James Toney used to fight off the ropes a lot. I mean, I did so many of his fights as a middleweight, super middleweight, light heavyweight. And he used to